All right, let's start lesson 6. We're going to obviously start with session 1 and get into some of the basics of place value. The purpose is for us to start recognizing that we can multiply by 10 to move the place value or divide by 10, which will kind of be an interesting thing to start on. But let's do our warm up. So, our warm up has a thousands cube here, this little green thousands cube. Now, for the purpose of being able to see it better, I've got a better picture on the next page. But the question is, where do you see each number in a thousands cubes? So what they're wondering is, where do you see 10? Where do you see 100? And where do you see 1000? So since that picture is pretty small, I added this picture here. Okay, so where do we see 10? It's pretty simple. If you look at it, you just have to count up 10 cubes. And the easiest grouping of that is a column of 10 cubes. Remember, a column holds things up. And we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we've got 10 cubes right there. They want to know where do we see 100? Well, let me take this top layer and I will just highlight all of that. And if we notice, we've got 10 cubes by 10 cubes, which gives us 100 cubes. So there's our 100. And then if we know that there's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 layers at 100 each, that gives us 1000 cubes. So these big cubes right here, if you've handled those before in class, or if you're in class today and have one, each of those is 1000. So, and remember, cubes are used to measure volume. So this is 1000 cubic units if you want to make a relation to the volume we started out with this year. Okay, so open up your textbooks to page 121 and let's get started with the lesson. So right at the very top, you'll see they've got a question here. How is place value related to the number 10? Well, by multiplying or dividing a number by 10, you're going to move the digits in that number either left or right. If you multiply by 10, you're moving your digits one place to the left. So for example, if you have like the number 53 and then you multiplied it by 10, that would give you 530. You have moved each of these digits one place to the left. And then we put a 0 there as a placeholder. If you divide by the number 10, you're moving your numbers to the right. So let's pick a different number. Let's do 750 divided by 10. Since we're moving each of these digits one to the right, that would give us an answer of 75. That 0 would disappear because then it wouldn't need it anymore. So as you can see, multiplying by 10 moves to the left, dividing by 10 moves to the right. And that'll be really helpful for your homework tonight, just to remember that basic idea. Okay, look at the place value models for whole numbers. Write the missing factor in each equation to show how ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands are related. So for this right here, for the 1000, we know to multiply 10 times 100, or 10 times those. Each layer has 100. For each of these, we know 10 times 10 will give us those 100. We got a 10 times 10. And over here, of course, we got like the 10 layers, just like we did with the warm up. And for this, each cube, 10 times 1 gives us 10. This is a total of 10. And we've got just our 1 cube. So just again, seeing the relation of 10 for each of these and moving our place value. Looking down below, now write the missing numbers in the equations below these place value models for decimals to show how hundreds, tenths, and ones are related. So remember, our tenths and hundreds are to the right of the decimal. So for example, by a decimal point, these would be to the right of the decimal. The ones place is to the left of the decimal. So if we multiply 10 times 0.1, that would move our digit one place to the left and give us 1. If we were going to do 10 times 100ths, that would move our 1 over to the left. And then we've got our hundredths here, just to show how they're all related. And at the very bottom of the page, let's look at 3. Look at your equations in problems 1 and 2. Explain how the value of each place compares to the value of the place to its right. What we know is the value of each place is, and just put this in quotes to let it stand out, 10 times the value of the place to its right. And basically what that's saying is every time you look at a number or a digit, whatever, it's 10 times bigger than whatever it is to the right-hand side of it. Just keep that in mind. All right, go ahead and turn the page. All right, fill in the blanks in diagram to show how the values of the numbers change from row to row in the table. Extend the pattern to fill the top and bottom rows. Okay, well, let's start with the left and right hand side. Everything on the left, showing how these arrows kind of move it up a little bit. These are all going to be multiplying by 10. And if you look over on this side, all of these are moving the decimal back a little bit. So we got these are all divided by 10. Fill all those in. Okay, so for this one, this 100, if we're multiplying it by 10, that gives us 1,000. And what this shows is if we have 1,000, we divide by 10, it becomes 100. Divide by 10, it becomes 10. Divide by 10, it becomes 1. 1/10, 100th, and in here, 1,000ths. So it's what this is showing us is just the connection between the two. If we have 1,000ths here and we multiply by 10, we're shifting our numeral to the left, 1. Again, multiplying by 10 shifts it to the left, to the left, to the left, left, and left to give us this answer. So dividing shifts the number, shifts to the right. Multiplying shifts the number to the left. Okay, and the reason we're learning this is because it explains and makes it easier for us to do this multiplication in our head. We're kind of working on some mental math techniques with learning this relationship. All right, let's move on to 5. That's how it happened there. All right, what happens to the position and value of the digit 1 when you multiply by 10? That's pretty easy. The 1, and what they're talking about, value when you multiply. What they're talking about is what's happening here. Taking 1 and multiplying by 10. The digit 1 moves 1 place to the left. That's what's happening right here. And then that becomes a 10. Let's look at question 6. What happens to the position and value of the digit 1 when you divide by 10? So we're talking about 1, and then we're dividing by 10. If you look at that 1, it's actually moving um, the digit 1 moves one place to the right. Okay. And 7, what do you think is the value of the digit 1 in a number you wrote in the last row of the table? So what they're talking about is, for this one, it's 0.001. So you could call this a couple different things. 1 would be 1,000ths. TH on there, it's 1,000ths. And we're talking about this number right here. And that can also be written as a fraction, as 1 over 1,000. It's the same value. If you can convert this fraction to a decimal by dividing 1,000 into 1, you would get that 0.001. It's the same thing. And number 8. All right, dividing a number by 10 is the same as finding 1/10 of the number. So what they're saying here is it's making your number smaller if you're dividing. And when you divide, you take a whole thing and divide it into equal parts. Use the phrase 1/10 of, or the phrase 10 times, which I'm going to write smaller over 1/10 because we're making it, it's a fraction of something. And 10 times means something's getting bigger. Complete each statement about 1,000ths. So 1,000th is blank of 100th. So that would be, since it's a smaller part, 1/10 of, and 1/100th is, since that's 1/100th, or if you have break one thing into 100 parts, that's, you got, your parts are a lot bigger than one if you break it into 1,000. So this is going to say 10 times. And just some practice to get used to that relationship between the wording and the numbers. And last part here, number 9. Oop, pass this. Number 9, which number does the digit 5 have a greater value? So let's write this out. We got 0.05, and we have 0.005. So we want to know which one of these is bigger. Well, this is hundredths. So this is 5 hundredths. And yes, we can reduce that, but we're not going to talk about that just yet. This is thousandths. It's out thousandths place. And that's 5 over 1,000. So again, what we're talking about with fractions is we're breaking this digit into 1,000 pieces and this one into 100 pieces. So just think of one thing you own, like a piece of paper. If you cut it up into 1,000 different pieces, as opposed to another piece of paper you cut up into 100 different pieces, which pieces of paper will be bigger? Well, it would be this one, because they wouldn't be as big, because it would take a lot more to make it up like that. Or think about if you've ever done puzzles. If you did like a 100-piece puzzle, the pieces are usually much larger than doing a 1,000-piece puzzle. So again, if that helps you remember it, just keep thinking of it like that. All right, today's homework is IXL. It's going to be G5, relationships between decimal place values. This is where you're going to just be adjusting and shifting your place values by tens, or one, or tenths of. So you'll be either shifting it 1 unit to the right or 1 unit to the left.